human health. It has already been talked about that human health is directly related to the changing climatic scenario. And that changing climatic scenario is in turn related to the biological diversity, right? So when we restore the biological diversity, when we restore the ecosystems, so we can go ahead with there'll be certain cases wherein the pandemics or like already talked about, so that can be conserved in that manner. So if I want to say that the biodiversity underpins the current as well as the future human health, right? So when we talk about the responses, protecting the biodiversity, so all these things are related to the human health in one way or the other, and the changing diversity or the changing climatic scenario is again a factor that has to be addressed upon. Like if we have, say, the springs, for example, if we have the springs in the higher reaches, what will happen to those springs because of the climatic changes? Because they will have more water to them, but the springs which are in the lower reaches, they will start drying up, and slowly and steadily they will have more pests, will have more things, and they will harm the human health also. So that's what I think about this. And I think many governments, they are taking steps towards it, to how to maintain or curtail the human health related problems for the ecosystem restoration. If the ecology is good, the habitat is good, we'll have less viruses or less microbes, less pathogens, and accordingly we will have a better environment to live in. That's what I think.
To have one quick question, please try to sum up in a minute or so. Is compassion for nature is essential for sustainability on our planet?
Yes, that is the main question. See, we are sitting in an AC room, we are sitting in our houses, and we are talking about the restoration of ecosystems, right? So the first thing, which is the charity begins at home. So if we try and conserve the natural resources in one way or the other by just making a small little change for like green energy, green things, these are in things these days. So we should be able to restore by, say, we can switch off the lights, we can, by little actions, we can conserve little things, right? That is what I want to add upon. And one more thing which I want to add upon is that of course we know that all of us have enough for our need, and there is, for our greed, never ever anything is enough. So the difference between what we do and what we can do, what is our capability to do, that should be stressed upon. This was the motto of Gandhiji also, and we should also follow on the same footsteps.
Thank you, Dr. Madhuri, for highlighting eco-restoration, health risk assessment, and even sustainability. Thank you. I would like to move to our next panelist, Professor Chandrabhas Narayananji. Sir, I've gone through your CV and I found you are working in physics, practicing chemistry, and doing so much in biology. So true multidisciplinary person. And I found your work that you have worked a lot on nanotechnology and director in biotechnology institute. So my question to you is that how nanotechnology and biotechnology can help to attain eco-restoration of lost natural resources and health risk assessment.
Thank you, Chaudhary. It was wonderful talking to you yesterday itself and getting to understand this very important panel discussion. So as I work in the area of nanotechnology, I use nanoparticles extensively. I just wanted people to understand that when we reduce the size of anything, it doesn't change its chemical property. It only changes its physical property, which is very, very interesting to understand, because the moment chemical properties change, then you have a totally different material. So the nanoparticles themselves are very interesting in that sense that they actually come out with many interesting properties related to their surface area itself. So in I will take 3 examples to elucidate how nanotechnology is helping in restoration of our natural resources. All of us have been discussing about water. The major primary problem is that we have water, but drinkable water or good water is not available for most of the population. Actually, we used to think that it was a problem in, say, West Bengal or in Northeast or those regions where arsenic content was high. But today, heavy metals are actually present in most of the water in all over India. And it's a major problem. And one of the things which is possible with nanotechnology, and there is a company which has started from IIT Madras, and that is actually pioneered by my own very close friend, T. Pradeep, he's a professor in chemistry in IIT Madras. They started something called Amrit. That is the name of the product. And what they have done is they have used nanoparticles, which are basically coinage metal particles, which they have used to remove heavy metals or convert even halocarbons into carbon and metal halides, which actually are useful later, because you know that sodium chloride is a very useful product, whereas halocarbon is a very problematic thing. So using these nanoparticles, they have come out with cleaning water, and they have installed this more than few lakhs all over India, and it is helping. And they have also come out with a possibility that these can be directly linked to your hand pumps. So directly when you are pumping out the water from the ground, this gets filtered, and the water which comes out is drinkable without any further storage. Very, very importantly, you would have realized that many of us use at home a product which is called the reverse osmosis or RO water, which wastes around nearly 50 to even 25%, depending on the efficiency of the RO plant. Here, there is absolutely no wastage at all. It gets cleaned directly. So this is one example of how we can actually make in rural areas for cost-effective way, a large volume production of water resources, drinkable water resources. This again can be combined to clean your own sewage waters too. So if you actually put in front of it nanoparticles, which are actually made from bacteria or fungi or various other kinds of organisms which can produce certain very interesting nanoparticles in a controlled way, and you actually put it into a sewage, it kills off all the microbial organisms, anaerobic bacteria or other products. And that water again can be fed into this, and it can clean up the complete water, and it can become a potable water, at least usable water for most of the cleaning, and it can be installed in home. So this is one, and this has become a company. So I'm also saying that there is a possible dimension where you can actually bring out a product which is useful, and this is really working very well. It is even attracted funding from US for developing it into a larger product, because many of the underdeveloped countries have this potable water problems, and this can become a very important way forward. Now, the next area where nanotechnology, I'm only taking Indian perspective, so I'm not looking at outside India right now, and I'm taking very specific examples here. So the second one is basically we have a greenhouse gas, carbon dioxide. And that has become a very big problem for us for controlling the climate change. And greenhouse is contributing extensively to it. And a major part of it comes from thermal power plants, various other factories which produce huge amount of, like steel factories, produce huge amount of carbon dioxide. Now, we may talk about automobiles are producing carbon dioxide, but the amount of carbon dioxide produced by automobiles is much less compared to these large factories which produce. Now, the interest is, can we actually sequester the carbon dioxide and convert it into useful products? And this is possible now with nanotechnology. Again, here, one of our, my friend, and he has started a company called Breathe, and that company is actually interested in taking this carbon dioxide gas and converting it into methanol and other useful products. So this has been successful. It is running. Now many companies are coming, steel industries coming, thermal power plants are coming to actually install this, where they are able to capture the carbon dioxide. Now this carbon dioxide goes through this reactor, and that has nanoparticles which are very specifically designed, very efficient. They can convert around 2,000 kilograms of carbon dioxide a day. That is a kind of requirement for a power station and those kinds of areas. And now what they do is that they also produce hydrogen, gaseous hydrogen from atmosphere, and then they react with carbon dioxide to produce methanol, and the products are all very useful products. And methanol has a very large use now because people are trying to make methanol out of sugarcane, methanol out of corn, and many other things. But this is a much useful product coming from carbon dioxide itself. So this is another example of a company coming out to try to help in restoration of the weather. You know that carbon dioxide is now around 412 parts per million in the atmosphere. And this was the highest in maybe around 800,000 years. So we are actually going into that regime where the temperatures can rise by about 2 to 3 degrees more. And that means a lot to the climate change itself. So this is one second example I gave. The third example I wanted to give is about our excessive use of pesticides, which is causing a damage to our soil. And here again, the problem is that we do not know how to target the pests. So we have to use large quantities. In fact, if you look at it now, if you look at what used to be in 1960s, for a hectare, there is to be about 10 to 15 kilograms of pesticide being used. Today, it is being reduced quite substantially. And with very good use of nanotechnology, you can bring it down to very low quantities, like 10 grams per hectare. So that is a huge change, and that can actually change the kind of soil nutrients and various other things present in this. Here again, another friend of mine who has actually come out with a very ingenious way of controlling pests using nanotechnology. He is using graphene oxide, and graphene is nothing but a carbon-based system. And that graphene oxide, if it is intercalated, made a composite with pheromones, they attract specific insects which target the vegetation, and these are brought in, and then they are exposed to the pesticide out of the field. And you do not need large quantities, and they are demonstrated in the case of, first demonstration was in the case of this beetle, which actually causes a huge damage to the palm or the coconut groves. And that they could demonstrate with Kerala Agriculture University. They could demonstrate that this is very, very effective in removing it, and you do not need to spray. And you know that how difficult it is to spray pesticide on a palm tree. This doesn't even require that. You just place it below the coconut tree, and you actually trap all these beetles very easily. So that is another example. And they have started going into rice field, corn field, various other things where there are insects which are actually causing a damage, and they can be trapped. So and now in the futuristic way, what people are actually coming out with is that they are trying to use computer simulations, which is basically what Alok has mentioned, is to design molecules, very, very specific molecules, which are very targeted to the specific gene which is required for their development. They can target the proteins which are actually responsible for that. And these can be released at very, very small quantities. And now that means nano pesticides, or nano pesticides is the futuristic way of going forward. So in a sense, what I wanted to give a perspective is that nanoscience has actually, and you would have realized immediately that it is not one particular branch. It is an interdisciplinary branch where you bring in physics, chemistry, biology, engineering, various other aspects of it to bring down this technology. So in this sense, it's reunifying all the sciences and bringing together to restore our natural resources. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mara. And you have enlightened us the use of nanotechnology almost in all spheres of this ecosystem. You have very well pointed out the role of nanotechnology to mitigate water contamination, air contamination, even soil contamination. So we are highly enriched with your discussion, and I may add that recently I have read about a US company who manufacture air purifier based on nanotechnology. Their filter is based on nanotechnology and it works on photochemical oxidation. And they have reported, their virology lab has reported that they can even neutralize human coronavirus in the air to 99% extent through droplet and air. So thank you so much.
I just wanted to add one thing here, because there is an Indian invention also. I should mention that our CSIR lab in Chandigarh, which is there right next to the Punjab University, very close to you, which has actually developed the similar UV-based setup. And today in the parliament, all the air filtration, the old parliament, the air filtration system is being purified by this technology using nanotechnology and UV light. So UV activated photo-induced nanotechnology, which is being done. So this is our CSIO, which is actually doing this installation, and now it's available for most of the institutions and medical laboratories. And so India also has actually contributed to this. It kills all the bacteria and viruses and other things which are present in the air.
Very well pointed out. It not only filters, but it inactivates volatile organic compound, virus and bacteria as well. So thank you very much for such a enlightenment to our august audience. So next, I would like to go to Shri Nareen Bakshi. Bakshi ji, I have read about you that even you have restored your bad health by doing, simple practicing like eating good food. So, such kind of restoration, you have exemplary shown that how it really is there, and if you use proper dietary system or proper health practice, you can restore yourself. So I would like to first ask you that how environment can be saved if we focus on more plant-based diet rather than animal diet.
So first of all, I'm coming from Silicon Valley, where it is 10 o'clock in the night. So I'm so delighted that somebody, one of your team members, discovered me sitting here and invited me. So thank you very much for inviting. So the topic that you're talking about applies to all of us. We're talking about how do we live healthily. And the best thing that we all know is the prevention is the best. If you can do right lifestyle and never have disease, that is the best thing. The second best thing is if something goes wrong, can you reverse it, which is what we are talking about, the whole planet. So let's start with ourselves. So yes, you're right. I'm one of those people that had ignored my health. I had everything. My company had gone public. I live in Silicon Valley, a place of inventions. There is no questions about it. For example, we are talking about environment. I live in a home that is solar. I have for 5 years using Tesla, never gone to get any petrol, any place. I have a system here of irrigation that knows today is going to rain, no more grass to be fed, on and on and on. So we are talking about a place where people are very environmental conscious. But what was happening and what is happening in an unfortunate way is that people are ignoring their own health. When you ignore your own health, you really are impacting yourself, but also community, also the country, and also the environment. Now the question is, in my case, I had reached a point where I had diabetes, I had severe obesity, I had hiatal hernia, I had sleep apnea, on and on. But I woke up and was able to, with no surgery, no medicine, no nothing, I was able to restore myself. How? Just by changing lifestyle. What kind of lifestyle I'm talking about? So we can be proud of the fact that the best solutions are going to come from combination of East and West. So we discovered I lost 90 pounds, which is 40 some kilos. And now today I take no medicine whatsoever. So that led, and the important thing I'm talking about is, but I could see that I could do it. I could see many others can do it. So we started to look around in Silicon Valley and San Francisco, California area. What is the situation of our community here? And you must be very pleasantly surprised, not so much anymore. Our community here is doing exceedingly well in all dimensions. But when we did survey, sir, I must tell you, unfortunate thing was, on one dimension, we were doing poorer than average. In spite of the fact we have so many doctors, so many resources, so much wealth, that led us to investigate. And for the last 3 years, we've been running this program called Crack Your Own Wellness Code. That has now become a wellness movement in the country. And now it's going global with the operation back in India. What does it mean? Number one thing in any diet, any health improvement is what you eat. But not just what you eat, when you eat, how you eat. So diet plays a very important part. And sir, it is true that after all the research that has been done one after the other, the best diet for human beings is plant-based, organic, seasonal diet. That's the best. Now, what is the advantage of that? It's not just you improve health, of course, that's number one. But what is also true, as you look around and when you do the studies, we find out that you tremendously improve environment because of so many millions and billions of animals that are slaughtered in factories, cows more than anything else. And that's causing a lot of trouble. That is causing a lot of trouble because the kind of food we are eating is also wrong. So going forward, not only you're doing that, but also you're talking about compassion. Compassion to animals, compassion to environment, everything is related. So we are talking about on one side, your own health, on another side, environment, third side, compassion. So all of them lead to right kind of diet, which is plant-based diet. So we are now promoting not just the plant-based diet, but change the lifestyle so that you improve your health and help others. So we have now created a global entity called Crack the Wellness Code, CWC is known. And then I'm so delighted also that your team found Mr. Kala, who is the managing trustee of the same concept now being done in India. So what is going on here is global activity that may start in here, but comes there. But I must also tell you just one more thing. I've been in Silicon Valley for 50 years. When I came to this country, nobody understood what a yoga was. Now you cannot go any corner of the United States where yoga is not understood. 20 years ago, nobody wanted to believe what is meditation. Today, in one name or the other, that is well accepted. I must also tell you now, the research in America, not one place, but many places showing intermittent fasting. The idea of Ekadashi, the idea of Upwas, the idea of 3-day Upwas, all of that has a positive impact. So we can take a lot of delight that we had wonderful heritage, we are following that, but unfortunately we lost it. Our youngsters are following opposite situation. They copy not good practices from West, but not so good practices from West. The burgers have become common in India. So I'm very pained to see that institutions that have done research about per capita consumption of meat are telling that per capita consumption of meat is coming down for the last 10 years in the United States. But the same team tells me, Mr. Bakshi, we are so pained to see the consumption of meat and all these bad things going up and up in India. That is causing obesity, that is causing diabetes. We have become very, very poor in terms of heart health. So these are all chronic diseases. 70% of all of our diseases today are chronic, not real genetic. We're talking about reversible things. We have thousands of examples now of it can be done. So I'm so delighted that we are talking about environment. We are also talking about health. We're talking about affordable health. Look, the best affordable health is you prevent. You don't have to go to create new hospitals, new drugs. So that's what I'm here for. And I will leave Mr. Kala to explain how he is taking this whole concept that has been developed for 3 years and now we're going to scale up with technology because we are sitting in Silicon Valley. We are developing a Cushy app. There will be an application that will come and you put in some parameters and it will help you think through your own wellness code. So I hope I have not diverted too much from your broad delegation. You are all research people, wonderful research papers, but what I'm talking as an entrepreneur is how do you practically use it?
Very well said, sir. If you can restore health, of course, we are hopeful we all together will be able to restore our ecosystem. So with this, I would like to also approach Wing Commander Vidya Kalaji, since he has also been associated with Wellness Movement. So we want his comment also from Indian point of view, that how do you feel that this eco-restoration drive be initiated at ground level? Kalaji.
Thank you so much. First of all, thank you so much for having me on this platform. It's such an august gathering, and there's so much of knowledge that has been disseminated today. The way we look at wellness is, it's a holistic thing, and we all understand that wellness of environment impacts us directly. There's no more that question, it doesn't affect us. We see it happening on a day-to-day basis. So as Mr. Bakshi said, he started a movement in US, and we said, okay, why not we do it in India too? And the fundamental thing of when you start these things is you start by educating people. So we said, okay, our mission should be educate people through, using technology, inspire them using health heroes like Mr. Bakshi, or health heroes in the field of environment like Ms. Professor Gianni, who has planted more than 3.5 million trees, who was awarded by UN with the Land for Life Award this year. He was on our platform and he spoke about how you can grow things locally within your office, even inside little spaces available to your apartments. So teaching is one thing, and then what we are focusing is on preaching things and use practitioners who come and talk about this. So they inspire our people. And once you are inspired, once you are educated, you feel empowered. And once you feel empowered, there is an impact of it because you start using it. So that's the mission mantra we follow, educate, inspire, empower, impact. And now we also say, okay, let's measure the outcome. The first exposure that I had to environment was, a long time back. I saw a film, An Inconvenient Truth by Mr. Al Gore. And that was so shocking that, for quite some time, I did not use an AC in my car. So that was impact of education. When I live in a place in Pune, and fortunately at a place which is surrounded by thousands of trees, right in the heart of the city. And we experience every day that when you turn from a main road into our road, there is a temperature difference. We experience this day in and day out. So whatever we have heard today, we can make a change. We can impact our environment. We can improve our environment by making small, little efforts, which we are trying to do. That's all I would say. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Of course, education can change the overall scenario. So very well said. We need to educate our people. We need to educate our stakeholders also. So with this, I would like to move to Shri Varun Pandey, who is co-founder of We Community. So Varunji, why ecological restoration is important, and how can we repair a natural ecosystem?
Thank you, Gangaramji. First of all, I would like to take this opportunity to thank Professor B.R. Kamboj, Dr. Alok, Dr. Madhuri, Venkamandu Vidyakant, and Dr. Chandrabhash for providing this opportunity. Chandrabhash, sorry. So, it's an absolute privilege to be here. Probably I'm the youngest in the crowd, and I have a couple of my college seniors, Professor Reddy, who has been my mentor and guru for a very long time, and I've had the privilege of working with him, and same applies to Naren sir as well. He has mentored me a lot. I'm slightly off from the rest of you. I actually come from an entrepreneurial background. I'm basically an engineer from BIT Mesra Ranchi. Was part of IT industry for a very long time. Worked in 2 or 3 startups before I founded this company called We Communities. The concept initially was to work with communities, right? So we all started fundamentally with working with a bunch of folks and trying to build an infrastructure around them. And while we were doing all this, we realized that the restoration, everybody in the city. So we actually started from our interactions with the folks in the city. So everybody in the city who's having a typical city life is sick of, the way they live, the kind of food they ate, the kind of problems they have, whether the air quality, the water, the food. And if we think about it, each and everything an average urban person consumes is laced with chemicals, chemicals, fertilizers, pesticides, and the water has got all the heavy metals, as a couple of the panelists actually mentioned. So we as a business thought that how could we create a solution for these folks? And then we said, why don't we think about certain places, take a larger parcel of land and set up an eco-village, set up a village where we'll absolutely not allow any kind of chemical, fertilizer, pesticide, absolutely not allowed. So let's say we take 100-acre land or 200-acre land. We make sure that whatever is grown here, and we try to grow everything natural and local, right? So imagine we are in the outskirts of Bangalore. We try to grow all the vegetables which we grow here, which is possible to grow. The avocados are possible to grow. The water apples are possible to grow. A bunch of other fruits are possible to grow. Now we are exploring the territory of NCR. So there, a different kind of fruits can be done. But we make sure that all these places, we grow all the things, absolutely the natural way. And the people who are going to come and live in these places, the first target is to make sure that everything they need to consume is grown there locally, absolutely locally. So the dependence on outside world, at least for food, is supposed to be completely resolved. That's the first premise. And we have taken significant steps in that direction. We have got 2 collectives up and running in the outskirts of Bangalore. The first collective is called Tamarind Valley Collective. We have got 50+ members. So every member is given a certain parcel of land, so around 1.25 acre of land, which is spread all over the place. And then there is a cluster-based housing. So in the villages, we used to live like a hamlet, right? We used to live like a community. The unfortunate part of the urban living is that we have lost that. Each one of us, though we live in apartments and villa complexes and everywhere else, but do we feel belonging to a community? Do we have connect? Do we have this opportunity that can we go and share our coffee in the evening with somebody? Hardly. But imagine how it was when we were kids, or our initial years. Most of us were part of some community, some kind of fallback model, for some kind of fallback option. None of those have it now. Then we said, why don't we have it? And how do we have it? Unless you interact and work together, unless you have an opportunity to spend time together, do things together, you will never become part of a community. Why the villages had a very beautiful community? Because each one of us were living there for ages, for many years. In the cities, it's difficult to do because somebody has come 5 years back, somebody has come 10 years back. So these communities, what we build, at least people have got a starting point that each one of them are absolutely clear that pure food is very important, good water is very important, and good air quality is very important. Everybody is signed up on the idea. And that's how we make sure that people are actually part of this whole initiative. They actually work as partners with us, and we build these places. So that's how we are trying to be completely sustained in terms of food and electricity also. So we try to go off the grid, not completely, because in place like Bangalore, we can live without air conditioners and heaters, but in a place like Delhi, it's difficult to live completely off the grid. So we give the grid as backup option, but we absolutely make sure that food we are going to grow and eat. And since members can't do it, we as a company professionally manage these places for the next 25 years. So we not only set up these places, we commit ourselves and manage these places. And this whole process, I as a founder of the company get this huge privilege of planting trees. And I don't know if you have seen gods, but as far as I'm concerned, I mean, a living tree is the god. I mean, it gives you food, it gives you air, it retains water, all the damage we do to the ecology is actually repaired by the trees. So they are the gods. I mean, as far as we are concerned, I mean, we are just, if somebody asks me in one line, what do you want to do as a company? We say we just have created an opportunity where a bunch of folks we assemble together and try to plant trees. So that's a little bit about as a company what we do and about the sustainability and restoration of the ecology we're talking about.
Thank you so much, Varunji, for sharing with example that how we can repair natural ecosystems. So looking at the time constraint, so at the end of this thought-enriching discussion, I feel that all of us present here can affirm to the fact that ecosystems are an indispensable ally as we met the growth challenges. Since the ecosystems support all the life form on Earth, their continuous degradation poses great threat to our existence. It is therefore very essential to protect them and manage their resources in the sustainable manner. But just increasing the protection and sustainable management of our remaining natural landscape and oceans will not be enough. The planet's degraded ecosystem must be restored. We know it's a long way to tread, but every small and sincere efforts towards eco-restoration would surely count, and the mankind will be successful in achieving its goal for sustainable development. With this, I thank all the panelists for participating with such an enthusiasm and congratulate the organizers, particularly Dr. Varinder Garg ji, Professor Harish ji, Professor Sakshi, for making this wonderful summit where great minds and thoughts are brought on a common platform to come up with better approaches in saving our ecosystem. So over to you, Shivani. Thank you once again.
Thank you so much, Dr. Chaudhary, for moderating the session. And I extend my heartfelt thanks to all the panelists for enlightening us with the wonderful views of ecosystem restoration of lost natural resources and health risk management. Now, I would like to request Dr. Varinder Garg to please formally welcome our chief guest, as Sir is with us now. Over to you, sir.
I proudly take privilege in welcoming our chief guest, our mentor, our guide, and the brain and mind man behind this great movement of Tech4Seva, who relentlessly devoting his entire life for making the translation of research in lab happening at ground level for the benefit of the last person in the queue. I welcome Shri Jayantji Sahasrabuddhe, who is the National Organizing Secretary of the Vigyan Bharati, and I will invite Dr. Sakshi to introduce Jayantji formally. Dr. Sakshi, over to Dr. Sakshi.
Thank you very much. We heartily welcome Jayantji. Sir, your presence is always inspiring for us, and we are blessed to have you. Thank you very much. Now I take opportunity to formally introduce Jayantji to all of you. Shri Jayantji is National Organizing Secretary, Vigyan Bharati. He has worked extensively on social welfare of the society. He is an active member of many national think tanks. He has dedicated his life for working rigorously towards promoting Swadeshi Vigyan movement in India. The motto of this movement is to promote Make in India, which will help in making the country prosperous and independent. He's working since last 30 years in the field of science, and the main aim which we have seen, sir, since last few years, that how to translate the research that is going on in labs for the betterment of society and the common person who is affected by some conditional problems, or because of his living conditions, or because of the job the person is working with. So, sir, thank you very much, and we would like to hear some words from you.
सभी को नमस्कार। क्षमा कीजिए कि मैं देरी से पहुंचा, क्योंकि मैं दिल्ली से अभी यहाँ पर यात्रा करके आया हूँ। इस विषय के बारे में तो आप सभी का अभिप्राय सुनने का अवसर मुझे नहीं मिला, लेकिन मुझे विश्वास है कि आप सभी का जो अनुभव और ज्ञान है, के आधार पर बहुत ही मौलिक बातें इस सत्र के द्वारा सबको मिली होगी। हम सब जानते हैं कि वर्तमान में पर्यावरणीय संकट या जलवायु परिवर्तन का संकट ये अपने स्वास्थ्य को काफी एक ग्रस्त सा कर रहा है, और उसको लेकर हम सभी की चिंता है। और इस कार्यक्रम के द्वारा हम ये जानते हैं कि सभी को बहुत ही सहज रीति से स्वास्थ्य का लाभ होना चाहिए, उसमें पर्यावरण की बहुत बड़ी भूमिका है। उस दृष्टि से इस सत्र का सारा विचार सभी के सामने आया है। मैं मानता हूं कि जो विचार सामने आए हैं उसको आधार मानकर हम आगे की अपनी यात्रा चलाएंगे। अभी अगले महीने में ग्लासगो में COP26 कॉन्फ्रेंस ऑफ पार्टीज 26 इस प्रकार की विश्व स्तरीय संगोष्ठी होने वाली है। उसमें भी कई प्रकार के विचार विश्व के सामने आएंगे और विशेष रूप से अपने देश के द्वारा कुछ कमिटमेंट्स हम वहां पर करने वाले हैं। आप सभी ने सुना होगा नेट जीरो के बारे में कुछ चर्चा चल रही है। उसी के साथ साथ और भी कुछ इश्यूज है कि जिसको लेकर वहां पर चर्चा होगी और विज्ञान भारती इस नाते भी हमने कुछ बातें उसमें सुझाव के रूप में रखी है। उसमें एक महत्वपूर्ण बात ये रखी है कि अपने देश में जो जीवन शैली हम सदियों से अपना रहे हैं उसका अपने देश ही नहीं तो पूरे विश्व में उसका अवलंब करना चाहिए। और ये उसकी विशेषता अपने देश के जीवन शैली की ये है कि हम प्रकृति के साथ तालमेल बिठाकर अपने जीवन को चलाने का प्रयास करते हैं। तो ये एक महत्वपूर्ण बात अब सामने आई है। हम सब जानते हैं कि क्रोनोबायोलॉजी वगैरह इस प्रकार के जो नए विषय अब आए हैं उसमें यही बात सामने आई है कि अपने जिस प्रकृति के साथ हम रहते हैं उसके साथ तालमेल बिठाकर जीना ये एक सूत्र अपने जीवन का बनना चाहिए। तो इस बात को लेकर हम आगे बढ़ेंगे तो निश्चित ही ये जो इकोसिस्टम रिस्टोरेशन ये जो कल्पना आई है वो हम कर पाएंगे और उसके कारण हमारे स्वास्थ्य में भी काफी अच्छा एक बदलाव आएगा और उसी दिशा में चलने का प्रयास पूरे विश्व में सभी को करना चाहिए। इसकी आवश्यकता अब ध्यान में आई है। मुझे विश्वास है कि आप सभी इस विषय के ज्ञाताओं के द्वारा जो बातें आई होगी वो इसी दिशा को आगे बढ़ाने वाली होगी और मैं मानता हूं कि आप सभी ने जो राय दी होगी अभिप्राय दिए होंगे वो सबके लिए मार्गदर्शक सिद्ध होंगे। नमस्ते।
धन्यवाद जयंत जी। हमारा सौभाग्य है कि आज आपसे इस कार्यक्रम के दौरान यहाँ मिलना हुआ और आपका आशीर्वाद हम सबको मिला। So heading towards the session, now I would like to take an opportunity to introduce our worthy awardees to the session. So we have CIBioD Innovation and Enterprise Leadership Award, and this goes to Professor Ashwani Parekh. He is Executive Director, National Agri-Food Biotechnology Institute. He is PhD from the Department of Plant Molecular Biology, University of Delhi South Campus, New Delhi, and the postdoctoral at the Rockefeller Foundation, New York. He is Editor-in-Chief, Indian Journal of Plant Physiology at Springer and is serving as member of the editorial board of many prestigious scientific journals. He got Visitors Award for Technology Development from the President of India for developing stress-tolerant rice of the next generation that has the potential to enhance the income of rice farmers. He got Biocast Fellowship to work at the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, USA. He got INSA Royal Visiting Scientist Fellowship to work at University of Cambridge, UK. So I request our chief guest, Shri Jayant Saraswati, to kindly confer the award to Professor Ashwani Parekh.
नमस्ते अश्विनी जी।
नमस्कार।
ये पुरस्कार देते हुए हमें बड़ा आनंद हो रहा है और मैं जानता हूं कि आपने इस विषय में बहुत बड़ा काम किया है और एक हमारा सौभाग्य है कि ये पुरस्कार आपको देना। मेरी आपसे प्रार्थना है कि इसको आप स्वीकार कीजिए ताकि हम सभी आपके मार्गदर्शन के भी आगे चलकर लाभान्वित हो। फिर एक बार आपका अभिनंदन करता हूं। नमस्कार।
Thank you, sir. We have another award, that is Tech4Seva Leadership Excellence Award, and it goes to Professor KPJ Reddy. He is from Department of Aeroscience Engineering, Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore. He is BSc and MSc Physics from Mysore University and PhD from Birla Institute of Technology, Ranchi. Being Professor Emeritus, he has served as a faculty for 28 years. His research interests are in the areas of aerodynamics, hypersonics, shock waves, high temperature chemical kinetics and materials, gas dynamic lasers, and quantum electronics. He is a founding member and former president of the International Shockwave Institute and Society for Shockwave Research, India. Sir, I request you to confer this award to Professor KBJ Reddy.
नमस्कार प्रोफेसर रेड्डी जी, आपको इस पुरस्कार को देते हुए हमें बहुत बड़ा आनंद हो रहा है। आपका बहुत हार्दिक अभिनंदन। आपने इस पुरस्कार को स्वीकार किया, ये हमारे लिए बहुत ही सौभाग्य की बात है। फिर एक बार आपसे मैं प्रार्थना कर रहा हूं कि आप इस पुरस्कार का स्वीकार कीजिए और हमें आपके मार्गदर्शन से लाभान्वित कीजिए। फिर एक बार आपका मन से अभिनंदन।
Thank you so much, sir. We would like to hear some words from you, sir.
अश्विनी जी।
या सभी को सादर अभिनंदन। आदरणीय श्री जयंत साहित्य बुद्धे जी, CIBioD के सारे मेरे साथी, पंजाब यूनिवर्सिटी के साथी और भी मेरे जो मित्रगण हैं, डॉक्टर चंद्रभास एंड मैनी अदर पीपल। ये मेरे लिए बहुत ही सौभाग्य की बात है कि ये अवार्ड मुझे मिला है और ये अवार्ड श्री जयंत साहित्य बुद्धे जी के हाथों से मिला है, CIBioD के थ्रू मिला है। मैं बहुत ही अपने आप को सौभाग्यशाली मानता हूँ कि हम एक ऐसे विषय पर चर्चा कर रहे हैं जो हमारे लिए बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण है और ये जो प्रशंसनीय कार्य हम लोग कर रहे हैं CIBioD के थ्रू और जो डिस्कशन, जो पैनल डिस्कशन हम लोग कर रहे हैं, ये बहुत ही रिलेटेड है, बहुत ही जरूरी है आज के संबंध में, क्योंकि जो हमारा देश है, जो हमारा समाज है, एक ऐसे रास्ते की तरफ जा रहा है जिसमें हमारे युवा पीढ़ी को हमें जागृत करना बहुत जरूरी है। उन्हें सही और गलत का ज्ञान कराना बहुत जरूरी है। हमने हेल्थ के बारे में सुना, हमने डाइट के बारे में सुना, एनवायरनमेंट के बारे में सुना। ये बहुत ही इंपॉर्टेंट टॉपिक्स हैं और मुझे बहुत खुशी है कि ये एक ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, जो एक संस्था है, इतना बड़ा कार्य कर रही है। नाउ ये जो हमारा इंस्टीट्यूट है, बेसिकली आई एम ए प्रोफेसर एट जवाहरलाल नेहरू यूनिवर्सिटी। आई हैव जॉइंड एट नेशनल एग्री फूड बायोटेक्नोलॉजी इंस्टीट्यूट, जो कि एक बहुत ही बढ़िया इंस्टीट्यूट है, डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ बायोटेक्नोलॉजी का, मोहाली में स्थित है। और एक दूसरा इंस्टीट्यूट है CIAB, सेंटर फॉर इनोवेटिव एंड अप्लाइड बायो प्रोसेसिंग, सेम कैंपस में है। सबसे पहले तो मैं आप लोगों को आमंत्रित करना चाहूंगा कि आप आए और हमारे दर्शन दें और हमारा मार्गदर्शन करें दोनों इंस्टीट्यूट में। बट ये दोनों इंस्टीट्यूट जो है एक बहुत ही अच्छा काम कर रहे हैं, सिर्फ पंजाब के लिए ही नहीं परंतु पूरे देश के लिए। और जो काम यहाँ पर हो रहा है वो एक बहुत ही अच्छा काम हो रहा है, जहां हम नई टेक्नोलॉजी, नई तकनीक का आविष्कार कर रहे हैं ताकि हम ज्यादा से ज्यादा अन्न प्रोड्यूस कर सकें। और जो अन्न प्रोड्यूस करें, जो पैदा करें, वो न्यूट्रिशनली बैलेंस्ड हो, उसमें प्रोटीन भी हो, अमीनो एसिड भी हो, विटामिन हो। और इसमें हम हर तरह की टेक्नोलॉजी यूज कर रहे हैं। हमारे हिंदुस्तान की टेक्नोलॉजी भी यूज कर रहे हैं, बाहर से जो नई टेक्नोलॉजी जिसको आप सब लोग जानते हैं, जीनोम एडिटिंग है, जीन एडिटिंग हो, सब कुछ कर रहे हैं। बट एक छोटा सा एग्जांपल आपको देना चाहूंगा इंस्टीट्यूट के बारे में, जो कि पंजाब के लिए और पूरे देश के लिए इस समय में बहुत ही इंपॉर्टेंट है। इस वक्त सारे जो हमारे किसान भाई हैं वो सारे इस वक्त राइस की पैदावार को लेकर बहुत खुश हो रहे हैं। और इस वक्त जो है समय आने वाला है जहां हम फिर से एक विटनेस करने वाले हैं पोल्यूशन को, स्मोक को, जहां किसान फिर से वो किसान जो खेत में बचा हुआ राइस का रटून होता है उसको जलाने वाले हैं। और ये प्रॉब्लम पिछले कुछ सालों से हम लोग बहुत फेस कर रहे हैं। स्पेशली दिल्ली में हम जानते हैं कि सारा स्मोक इकट्ठा हो जाता है, बिकम चोकिंग, सांस लेना मुश्किल हो जाता है, जो बहुत सी बीमारियों को भी जाता है। तो हमारे आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री जी स्वीडन गए, वहां से टेक्नोलॉजी लेकर आए। बहुत खुशी के साथ कहना चाहूंगा CIAB नादी कैंपस में ये टेक्नोलॉजी हमारे पास है, जो स्वीडन की टेक्नोलॉजी है, जहां हम राइस का जो बचा हुआ हस्क है, बीज निकालने के बाद जो बचता है, उसको हम कन्वर्ट कर पा रहे हैं बायोकोल में। एंड ये जो बायोकोल आ रहा है, ये इतना अच्छा कोल है कि इसकी जो एनर्जी कैलकुलेशंस हमने करी है, वो एक जो कोयला होता है, साधारण कोयला जो हमें हजारों सालों के दबाव से मिलता है, जो साइंटिस्ट भी नो, उसके इक्विवेलेंट है, बिल्कुल बराबर है। तो ये एक बहुत ही अच्छी टेक्नोलॉजी है और हमने ये शो किया है कि ये हिंदुस्तान में भी काम कर रहा है। हमारे पास पायलट प्लांट है और अब ये स्थिति है कि अब जो हमारे प्रिंसिपल साइंटिफिक ऑफिसर हैं उनके ऑफिस के थ्रू हम एक पूरी टेक्नोलॉजी इंपोर्ट कर रहे हैं स्वीडन से, जो कि ऑलरेडी वहां से चल चुकी है, जो हम पंजाब में स्थापित करने वाले हैं। एक जिले में हमने जगह भी नोट कर ली है जो एक्चुअली काम करना शुरू कर देगी, जहां हम सारा जो धान का बचा हुआ पार्ट है या गन्ने का बचा हुआ पार्ट है उसको हम कन्वर्ट कर पाएंगे। बहुत बड़ी मूवमेंट है, एक मैं कहूंगा कि पूरे विश्व में एक मिसाल के रूप में एक कायम होगी, बिकॉज हमारे देश में इतना बाई प्रोडक्ट निकलता है, सीड हम अलग कर लेते हैं, बाकी का क्या करें। ऐसी और भी बहुत सारी टेक्नोलॉजी में समय मुझे अलाउ नहीं करता है कि मैं अपने दिल की बात आप लोगों से कहूं, तो मैं आप सभी लोगों को इनवाइट करना चाहूंगा नादी में सियाब में आप आइए, देखिए क्या टेक्नोलॉजीज हमारे साथ है और हमारे साथ मिलकर काम कीजिए, हमें आशीर्वाद दीजिए और आगे बढ़े देश की उन्नति के लिए। यही मेरी आपसे प्रार्थना है और बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया। थैंक यू वेरी मच।
थैंक यू सर, थैंक यू। Now I would like to invite our presiding guest, Dr. Adarsh Vigji, for his presidential remarks. So I would request you to wind up in 5 minutes. Dr. Adarsh Vigji.
हेलो, हाँ जी, ठीक है जी, थैंक यू, धन्यवाद जी, नमस्ते। सत श्री अकाल सब नूं। पंजाब दे विच माननीय जयंत जी विशेष तौर पे पहुंचे ने और सब नूं बहुत बहुत बधाई, कांग्रेचुलेशनस। पंजाब और चंडीगढ़ दे विच बड़ा अच्छा कार्यक्रम, बड़ा अच्छा उपराला, मैंने लगता भी मिक्स लैंग्वेज वर्त के सब नूं अच्छा लगेगा। सो ग्रेट कांग्रेचुलेशंस बिकॉज दिस टॉपिक ऑफ टेक और साइंस फॉर सेवा, this has been a kind of innovative idea given by a unique organization known as Vigyan Bharati. You just think of that while pre-independence or after independence, every science was for individual. We all sitting in good labs, in good institutions, we were all working only for our career, our biodatas, our promotions, our kind of so but practically जो जयंत जी ने बात की है, अभी हमारा जो देश है, जो हमारी यहाँ की जनता है, वो वातावरण के साथ रहना और ऐसा लाइफस्टाइल देना जिसका पूरे वातावरण को नुकसान ना हो। और इसी तरह उस समय का विज्ञान जो था, जो भारत का पुराना, वो देश सेवा के साथ जुड़ा हुआ था, देश की तरक्की के साथ जुड़ा हुआ था, वो पेटेंट कल्चर वाला नहीं था। तो ये टेक फॉर सेवा का जो एक विषय हमारे लिए चलवाया है, तो बहुत धन्यवाद और एक अच्छी सोच विज्ञान भारती की तरफ से हमें मिली है। तो ये इस नाते से भी जो भी हम वैज्ञानिक काम करें वो उसमें कुछ वातावरण का, सोसाइटी का, धरती का, पब्लिक का फायदा हो, ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है। और जो इसका विषय आज इस बात के साथ जुड़ा हुआ है, तो मेरा मन में जो बात है भाई, इसका जो इको रिस्टोरेशन की बात आई, इन्वायरमेंटल डिग्रेडेशन की बात आई, इतनी समस्याएं बात हम करते हैं, तो वो क्यों हुई? क्योंकि हमने विज्ञान को, अपनी टेक्नोलॉजी को सही दिशा नहीं दी। वो इस दिशा में चली गई जिससे एक उन्नति का एक दिखावा तो बहुत हुआ, पर उन्नति का असर समाज को, व्यक्ति को नहीं मिला। और उससे उल्टा एक पॉल्यूशन, एक ऐसी एक बीमारी हमारे पास जुड़ गई। तो जैसे मुझे अभी भी जिम्मेवारी मिली है पंजाब पोल्यूशन कंट्रोल बोर्ड में, तो मैं देख रहा हूँ कोई विषय ऐसा बचता ही नहीं। पानी, हवा, वेस्ट, इंडस्ट्री, हाउसिंग प्रोजेक्ट, डेवलपमेंट, मतलब जिसमें कोई भी जो चीज हम करते हैं वो पोल्यूशन के साथ जुड़ती है। तो ये क्यों है? भी हमने चीजों का यूज करने की बजाय मिस यूज करना शुरू। जैसे हम अपने कहते हैं अति सर्वत्र वर्ज्यते, एवरीथिंग इज फॉर यूर नीड नॉट फॉर द ग्रीड। इस मंत्र को हमें समझना पड़ेगा, इस मंत्र के साथ हम जुड़े तो बार बार ये विषय भी कौन बदलेगा, हम दूसरों की तरफ देखते हैं। तो मुझे लगता है पहले मैं खुद बदलूं, मैं अपने आप को सुधारूं। इतने इन्वायरमेंटल लॉज हैं इंडिया में, शायद किसी कंट्री में इतने इन्वायरमेंटल लॉज हम पढ़ाते हैं, बताते हैं, पर सुधार कुछ नहीं हो रहा। माननीय जयंत जी ने COP की बात की है और वहां भारत की बहुत एक अच्छी इमेज इसीलिए बनी है। अब वो उस दिशा में जब से ये हमारी सरकारें पंजाब में, सेंटर में, इन्होंने अच्छा सोचना शुरू किया है और उसमें मेरा क्या सहयोग होगा और मैं अपने आप को क्यों ठीक करूं और उसके साथ ही वातावरण को ठीक करूं, तो मुझे लगता है फिर ये विषय उसको बचाने के, रिस्टोरेशन के या डिफिकल्टीज बताने के नहीं है, अब इसको आगे बढ़ाने की बात है। तो ये जो आज का विषय है इको रिस्टोरेशन, वो मतलब पोल्यूशन और हेल्थ की बात, यदि पोल्यूशन नहीं होगा तो हेल्थ अपने आप ठीक होगी। कहने को डाटा हम बता सकते हैं, पर पहले समय में लोग सुखी थे, लाइफस्टाइल ठीक था, जिसको हम रिड्यूस, रीयूज, रिसाइकल, वो हमारा भारत का कल्चर है। मैं तो कई बार छोटी बातें करता हूँ, हमारे भारत में किसी घर में कूड़े की डस्टबिन नाम की कोई चीज नहीं रहती। ये वॉश बेसिन, ये फ्लश, ये टॉयलेट्स, ऐसी कोई परंपरा नहीं। हमने जितना सीवरेज सिस्टम वेस्टर्न कल्चर से लेके उतना ही पोल्यूशन बढ़ा दिया, उतनी अपनी नदियां गंदी कर दी। हम तो उस देश में रहते हैं जिसमें हर मंदिर, हर गुरुद्वारे में एक तालाब रहता है जिसमें से हम अमृत पीते हैं। और अपना जूठन छोड़ना पाप है, भोजन को व्यर्थ करना पाप है, धरती को माता है। तो ये सारा कल्चर मेरे से शुरू होगा और ऐसी जो संस्थाएं हैं विज्ञान भारती, ये सब कर रही हैं। तो मुझे लगता है इतना बातें सबके ध्यान में आ चुकी हैं। तो क्योंकि ये इको रिस्टोरेशन का विषय है तो मैं थोड़ी सी बात जोड़ के, जिसमें एक कानून भी है, CBD और बायोडायवर्सिटी एक्ट बन गया है, तो मैं कई बार कहता हूँ यार अब उसको रोकने की बात नहीं, इसको बायोडायवर्सिटी को बढ़ाने की बात है। हम बायोडायवर्सिटी को कैसे बढ़ा सके, अब उसमें बायोडायवर्सिटी हेरिटेज साइट्स आ गई हैं और भारत इस विषय में बहुत महान है भी। यहाँ 12 जो मेगा बायोडायवर्सिटी कंट्रीज हैं ऑल वर्ल्ड की, उसमें से एक भारत है। और उस मेगा बायोडायवर्सिटी कंट्री में 4 हमारे हॉटस्पॉट्स हैं बायोडायवर्सिटी के, वेस्टर्न घाट, हिमालय का उत्तरी भाग, नॉर्थ ईस्ट और सुंदरलैंड। तो हम रिच हैं बायोडायवर्सिटी में, हमारे को ऑनर होना चाहिए हमारे कल्चर का, हमारे बायोडायवर्सिटी का, बट उसको बचाना, उसको संभाल के रखना, ये बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट। लैंड एरिया हमारे पास 2.5% है टू द टोटल वर्ल्ड, पर 8% हमारे पास जो स्पीशीज हैं बायोडायवर्सिटी का, 8%। तो ये एक रिचनेस की बात है, बट इसको संभालना। और जो हमारा बायोडायवर्सिटी एक्ट बना है उसमें सेंट्रल बायोडायवर्सिटी बोर्ड और ऐसे स्टेट बायोडायवर्सिटी बोर्ड और बायोडायवर्सिटी रजिस्टर, मतलब नीचे से काम करने वाली बात का उसमें ध्यान रखा गया। तो अब जो मैं बार बार बताता हूँ, शायद हमें पता नहीं होगा, बायोडायवर्सिटी हेरिटेज साइट्स, हम हेरिटेज के लिए जाते हैं जी, हम लाल किले में जाएंगे, कुतुब मीनार में जाएंगे, आगरा में जाएंगे, वो अच्छी बात है, वो मॉन्यूमेंटल है, पर बायोडायवर्सिटी भी बचे, वो हेरिटेज साइट्स। और ऐसी लगभग 12 से ऊपर अपने भारत की बायोडायवर्सिटी साइट्स हैं जिनको बचाना हमारी जिम्मेवारी है, वो डिग्रेड हो रही है, कम हो रही है। तो मैं उसमें एक ही बात करूंगा, नेशनल बायोडायवर्सिटी जो हेरिटेज साइट है वहां हम खुद जाए, बच्चों को लेके जाए, स्टूडेंट्स को, वो है नल्लूर। नल्लूर में इमली के वृक्ष हैं, इमली के, और वो लगभग 54 एकड़ में फैला हुआ है। माननीय जयंत जी ने शायद देखा होगा, बाकी लोगों ने, मुझे तो सौभाग्य मिलेगा देखने का, वो बेंगलोर में है और राजा चोल के समय का ये बचा हुआ। आप इमली के वृक्षों का एक इतना झुंड, और ऐसे बहुत से हैं पूरे भारतवर्ष में। और मैं फिर पंजाब की बात करने जा रहा हूँ। पंजाब में 3-4 बायोडायवर्सिटी हेरिटेज साइट है, वो स्टेट्स वाली है, नेशनल, जैसे इसी तरह वेटलैंड की भी बनी है। ये सब चीजों को बचाना बहुत जरूरी है। अब ये हमारे रिसोर्स है, ये हमारी कहते हैं ताकत है, ये हमारी वेल्थ है। वेल्थ इज नॉट द मनी, वेल्थ इज नॉट द डेवलपमेंट इन टर्म्स ऑफ हाई राइजिंग बिल्डिंग एंड रोड्स एंड ऑल, दे आर अदरवाइज रिक्वायर्ड, बट मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट इज नेचर। तो पंजाब की 2 बातों का मैं करके बात खत्म करूंगा। इनामी बाग, हम उसके पास ही बैठे हैं होशियारपुर में, ये मैंगो का एक बाग है जो 16 एकड़ में था, आप अंदाजा लगाओ, मैं बता रहा हूं, 16 एकड़ में था, उसमें से 10 एकड़ डिग्रेड हो गया, वो उसमें से कोई रास्ता बनाया और 6 एकड़ रह गया। 256 ट्रीज मैंगो के, 256 वृक्ष थे, अब 165 रह गए। आप देखिए 43 वैरायटीज वो कवर करता था, अब 29 वैरायटीज है। तो ये भी आगे खराब ना हो, ये बचाया जा सके। और दूसरी हेरिटेज साइट है कायाकल्प वृक्ष, वृक्षों की हम पूजा करते हैं एनवायरनमेंट की, वो बनियन का ट्री है और वो फतेहगढ़ साहब में है। वो लगभग 3 से 4 एकड़ में वो ट्री है और वहां भी हम प्रकृति की पूजा वाली जो बात है अभी इसको डिस्ट्रॉय नहीं करना, इसलिए वो बचा। तो हमारे देश में जो कंसेप्ट है अभी पूजा का वो इस तरह से अभी वातावरण को बचाने के नाते पूजा का कंसेप्ट है, वो धूप अगरबत्ती करने वाला कंसेप्ट है, तो उसको ध्यान रखना। और अब जो विषय है अब इसमें हम क्या कंट्रीब्यूट कर सकते हैं, तो मेरी हाथ जोड़ के प्रार्थना है अभी हम ग्रीन बेल्ट्स को ग्रीन रहने दें। हमने वहां पे टाइल्स लगा दी, जो नेचुरल प्लांट्स हैं हमारे, अब लाइन प्लांटेशन करते हैं, बहुत अच्छी बात है, पौधे लगाते हैं, बट हमें चाहिए पैच प्लांटेशन, माइक्रो फॉरेस्ट्स बनाए। कुछ लैंड ले, 2 एकड़ 4 एकड़ 500 गज जितनी है उसमें एक फॉरेस्ट। तो सारे मेथोडोलॉजी है इन सिटू एक्स सिटू, पर वो प्रैक्टिकली नजर आना चाहिए। हम पार्क की बात करते हैं तो हमारे गुरबाणी में, हमारे ग्रंथों में कुछ ऐसे वृक्ष लिखे हैं जिनके गार्डन या पार्क बन सकते हैं, इको पार्क कह लो, बोटेनिकल गार्डन कह लो, त्रिवेणी की बात आती है। तो इस तरह का ये सारा विषय जब हम लेंगे तो ऐसी डेवलपमेंट से बचेंगे जो वातावरण को खराब करे, लिव विद द नेचर ऑफ द हार्मनी। तो मुझे लगता है ये जो इको रिस्टोरेशन वाली बात आई है वो मेरे से शुरू होके, और ये पोल्यूशन नहीं होगा, जब इन्वायरमेंट ठीक होगा तो हेल्थ भी ठीक होगी। तो इस नाते से मैं सबको प्रार्थना करते हुए अपनी बात को समाप्त करता हूँ। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
Thank you so much, Dr. Vic, for enlightening us and apprising us with your motivational concluding remarks. It's an honor to have you with us today. So now I request Dr. Varinder Garg for the formal vote of thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Shivani. On the behalf of Team Tech4Seva, Vigyan Bharati, Unnat Bharat Abhiyan, and Center for Innovation and Environment, I express my gratitude, thankfulness. We are obliged, honored, and enlightened by the presence of all the august speakers, chief guests, special guests, and awardees. I especially thank Shri Jain Sahasrabudhe, National Organizing Secretary, Vigyan Bharati, who is among us on the dais, Dr. Rashmi, Chairperson Punjab Pollution Control Board, Dr. B.R. Kamboj, Vice Chancellor, Haryana Agriculture University, Dr. Anup Chaturvedi, Professor Purdue University, Shri Naresh Bakshi, Chairman and Board and Founding Trustee, Charity Wellness Board, Wing Commander V. Kala, Dr. Madhuri Rishi, Dr. Chandravas Rayad, Shri Varun Pandey, Professor K.P. Kiredi, and Professor Ashwini Parikh. Honoring such honored and towering personalities is in itself an honor, and we are privileged to share that honor today. So we are all thankful to you, and we hope and we wish that your mentorship, your cooperation, and your guidance will be available to us in translating all the thoughts which are discussed over here into the practical achievement. So at the end of the session, I will only say that let's stop destroying nature. Nature has capacity of restoration, immense capacity of restoration. Only we have to give some space and time to nature to heal itself. So once again, thank you. Dhanyavad.